Apple has finally decided to put some real personality back into the iPhone, and it's starting with color. For years, we've had muted shades, the kind of color you only notice if you squint under bright light. The green on the iPhone 15, for example, looked less like green and more like someone accidentally dropped a mint leaf into a bucket of white paint. But with the iPhone 17, that's changing in a big way. A leaked dummy unit shows a new, vibrant green that makes the iPhone 15's so-called green look like it's been left out in the sun too long. This isn't just a subtle tweak. It's a complete shift in Apple's approach to design. They're finally realizing that if you're going to offer colors, they should actually look like colors. The difference is night and day. And it's not just green that's getting an upgrade. Apple's also rolling out a purple option for the iPhone 17 that's far more lively than the washed-out purple of the iPhone 14. If you remember the iPhone 14 Pro's deep purple, which looked more like almost black, this is the exact opposite, brighter, cleaner, and actually, purple. This matters because for a lot of people, color is a big part of the buying decision. The design hasn't changed dramatically year over year, so color becomes one of the few ways to make a phone feel personal. When Apple plays it to safe, the phones start to feel samey, no matter how powerful they are. With the iPhone 17, Apple seems to be acknowledging that people actually want their phone to stand out a little, or at least not disappear into a sea of neutral tones. If you're more into the Pro lineup, Apple hasn't forgotten you either. The iPhone 17 Pro is rumored to come in a bold new orange, described as a fire take on the desert titanium finish. Now, orange isn't going to be for everyone, and honestly, it's a risky choice, but it's nice to see Apple giving Pro buyers something a little more daring than the usual grays, blacks, and silvers. But the color I'm most curious about isn't green, purple, or orange. It's something called liquid glass. According to leaks, this will mostly be a white iPhone, but with a twist. It changes how it reflects light depending on your surroundings. Think of it like those pearlescent car paints that seem to shift as you walk past them. If Apple pulls this off, it could easily become the most talked about finish of the year, not just for Apple, but across the entire smartphone market. There's a bigger trend here too. For the past few years, Apple's played it safe, not just with colors but with the overall look of the iPhone. That makes sense when your sales are already strong. You don't want to mess with a winning formula, but the smartphone market is shifting. People keep their devices longer, and upgrades have to be more than just faster chips and better cameras. Design, especially colors, is one of the few ways to give the new iPhone that want it now appeal. The iPhone 17's color refresh feels like Apple testing the waters to see how far they can push without alienating the minimalism-loving crowd. The green is the most obvious example. It's not neon or over the top, but it's vibrant enough to feel fresh. It's the kind of change that makes you notice the phone even when it's just sitting on a table. The move also puts Apple in closer competition with brands like Samsung and Google, who've been a bit bolder with their colors in recent years. Samsung, for example, has experimented with everything from pastel pinks to bold blues, while Google's Pixel lineup often uses playful and unexpected combinations. If Apple can match that level of creativity without losing its premium feel, it could give them an edge in attracting buyers who care as much about style as they do specs. Of course, this isn't just about the launch lineup. If these colors prove popular, we might see Apple get even more adventurous in future releases, maybe even bringing back the kind of fun, saturated tones we saw with the old iPhone 5C, but with today's materials and finish. So here's the takeaway: the iPhone 17 isn't just another yearly refresh with a slightly better camera and a new processor. It's Apple rethinking one of the simplest but most important parts of a product's identity: how it looks and how it feels to own. The green alone signals a willingness to break from the muted, safe palette we've gotten used to. Add in the richer purple, the bold orange for the Pro, and the mysterious liquid glass, and you've got one of the most visually interesting iPhone lineups in years. If you've been holding off on upgrading because the last few models all felt a little too similar, this might be the year that changes. Not because of a headline-grabbing new feature, but because Apple finally remembered that part of the magic of a new iPhone is seeing one in a color that makes you think, yeah, that's the one I want. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.